Hi, my name is Andrés Córdoba, and here I'll be presenting the findings of my action research project entitled Community-Based Learning, a Descriptive Study on its Impact on Liberal Arts College Student. And this project was submitted to the Balch Center for Graduate and Professional Studies in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Master of Education. And so to start, I'll go over an introduction of both community-based learning and and an overview of my project. So first, an introduction, going over some of the history of higher education. Colleges and universities have always have been long recognized as a major source of socially and politically active members of society. So currently, the social and political issues in the United States and the world have propelled social justice to the forefront of classrooms, classrooms and discussions in the classrooms across institutions of higher education in the United States. And so to better understand some of the social pressures that have led to this increase in community-based learning also include the economic recession of 2008, rise in income inequality, unemployment, social injustice driven by a divided political environment, and the changing demographics of the country. And so to better understand community-based learning as an educational tool, also we have to take a step back and understand the type of theories and research from different fields that have allowed this component to be implemented in colleges across the United States and the world. And so I did some background research on community-based learning, and I learned that basically it is an interdisciplinary tool in education, and a lot of the findings that support the work that community-based learning does are gathered from different fields. And so John Dewey's learning theory support the community-based learning, Kurt Lewing's research on cognitive development, as well as John Piaget's research on cognitive development altogether support the theory that is behind community-based learning, which is the experiential learning theory. And so the combination of learning development and also cognitive development all support this theory. And so the experiential learning theory basically states that the process of learning is one whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. And so for this research project, I tried to come up with a question more specifically to gather what students were experiencing in different aspects of their lives as a result of community engagement. And so the question is, what is the perspective of higher education students on the effect or impact of community engagement programs? And so there are operational definitions important to this project because experiential learning can look different ways and be applicable in different ways. It is important to know the specifics of community-based learning and how it shows up in practice. And so service learning, which is one aspect of community-based learning, is just a form of experiential learning in which some type of assistance is provided to a local organization or group of people. And community-based learning, which is a little bit different, basically is a tool that supplements classroom instruction with service in the community and critical reflection, emphasizing personal and civic responsibility and reciprocal relationships. And so there's a difference there that is important to note. And so we basically, once again, focus on more of the supplementation of classroom instruction, the critical reflection component of community-based learning, and also emphasizing both the personal and the civic responsibility for the community, as well as creating, establishing, and maintaining reciprocal partnerships. And so for the methods for this project, my project was a descriptive study, and I used a convenience sample, so students that I already worked with. And so I designed a survey online, and the survey contained both demographic questions to understand who the students are, and also CBL related or community-based learning related questions. And so the participants of this study were 13 undergraduate college students at a private liberal arts college in Towson, Maryland, in Goucher College, and they were all student leaders for civic action. So they were all or all students held positions of leadership within the Office of Community-Based Learning. In the instrument, I used the community-based learning impact scale, which is something I was able to find from previous research that I found on the Journal of Service Learning in Higher Education. And 17 questions. I created the survey using Google Forms, and I asked 17 questions, all relating to professional development, psychological well-being, civic engagement, academic learning, and the demographics of the students. And going into the results, in terms of impact of involvement in community-based learning, all students reported a positive or neutral impact on the students' civic engagement and academic learning. And so here, in response to I am more connected to communities other than my own, a lot of students agree, while some strongly agree and some are neutral about the statement. And so I asked these statements to really try to measure or try to understand how their involvement in community-based learning affected civic engagement and academic learning. And on this next part of the survey, I tried to focus more on psychological well-being and how community-based learning impacted this area in the students' lives. So all students or student leaders reported a positive effect or positive impact on their psychological well-being after being involved in community-based learning. In terms of long-term effects, I also tried to understand if their career opportunities expanded after being involved in community-based learning, and most of them agreed somewhat and or answered yes, definitely to this statement. And so as a conclusion, in terms of demographics, the study found that majority of the students involved in community-based learning are female, are white, and are in their third or fourth year of college. And again, as a summary, all students reported a positive or very positive influence on community-based learning on their academic learning, civic engagement, professional development, and psychological well-being. And some of the implications of the results of this study include breaking down barriers of accessibility to higher education as we find more, as we try to understand more of the population that engages in community-based learning and some of the actual effects of the work that they do within the community. And another implication is the development of skills necessary for gainful employment after their 4 years at Goucher or at a higher education institution. In terms of future research, which is very important, it includes future projects could look into understanding the nature of the discrepancies in terms of demographics, especially gender and race, of those students who engage in community-based learning. Also understanding how involvement in community-based learning leads to gainful employment by those that engage in a practice during their college years. So this would require a longitudinal study, and also understanding ways to increase student engagement from those that are not typically involved with community-based learning. Thank you all so much.